Wonderful. It's with my pleasure to introduce Phil Atfield, co-founder of the Next Gen Skills Academy, Chloe Brown, recruiter at Playground Games, Bridget Dash, senior recruiter at DNEG, Dara McGarry, who's the director of outreach here at DNEG, and Debbie Ross. Guys from Hydra Studios. It's good to see you guys. I thought it'd be fun if we went round the group, and I've kept introductions short because I thought it'd be fun to go around and just spend about a minute on each panelist telling us a little bit about what they do and what their studio does. And we'll start off with Phil.
Good evening, everyone. Very nice to be here. And a couple of faces I haven't seen in ages, which is nice. Next Gen Skills Academy. So I'm a bit of an interloper here in that I don't work for a studio. We're not a studio. We basically bring industry into the classroom in a variety of ways. The reason I'm here is because for the last few years I've recruited apprentices, visual effects apprentices, for major studios in London, and some animation apprentices as well. So I can talk to you about apprenticeships till the cows come home, and we'd be here all night, but I can give you some tips about what we're looking for what is very nascent talent.
Brilliant, thank you, Phil. Chloe.
Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm from Playground Games, and for those who don't know, we are responsible for the Forza Horizon series. 1 to 5 has been developed by us, and we're also currently rebooting the Fable series as well. So both of those IPs sit under us at Playground. I'm obviously part of the recruitment team, but I specifically recruit within the art world, which is, I imagine, why I've been asked to join the panel. But I can give you a bit of an idea of what Playground look for in a portfolio, because you're probably going to come through me if you ever do apply at Playground. But I can also give you some general tips on kind of how to stand out in the gaming industry as well.
Brilliant, thank you, Chloe. Bridget.
Hi, Bridget. I look after DNEG feature animation, most of the pipeline. I've got some other recruiters that also help me, but it's the separate division from DNEG visual effects, DNEG 360, things like that. So yeah, it's all the wonderful, adorable feature animated films.
Thank you. It's a nice segue to introduce your colleague, Dara.
Well, hi. Yes, I am Dara McGarry, also with DNEG Animation. DNEG Animation itself has been around for 11 years now, but DNEG with its visual effects has been around for quite a long time, much longer than that. And I have been in both sides. Before that, I was with Disney feature animation. So my career has spanned a lot of different sorts of jobs. And my job as director of outreach is to speak with universities, emerging talent, schools, even to get people interested in careers and help advise them on the best way to move forward to success.
Thank you. And finally, Chloe.
Yes. Hi, so I'm Debbie. I'm from Hydra Studios in Glasgow. We're a CG studio specializing in game cinematics, so that can be anything from game trailers to cutscenes. I'm one of the co-founders of the studio. I also produce for the studio. I also do most of the recruiting for the studio. We're reasonably small. We do big projects, but we stay reasonably small. So I tend to look at the portfolios and ongoing inquiries that come to us. Do you want a little hint of the kind of things we do? If you look at us on LinkedIn today, we just posted our latest cutscene for the new About game that came out last week. We were able to share that today. Gives you an idea of what we do.
Brilliant. Well, we have lots of questions to look at today, and for those of you at home who'd like to get involved, please do use the Q&A function and not the chat, and we'll look at those questions towards the end of the show. First of all, and this is open to everyone, so whoever wants to go first, what do you look for in a reel or portfolio in a prospective artist?
For portfolio, for real, for more of a visual effects games kind of background, definitely want to see where your level is at. I want to see consistency too. The biggest thing for me is, even if you just graduated from uni, is I want to see at least 5 pieces that are consistent level. So you might feel the need to put in something that you did your very first year of uni just to pad out the reel and make it longer, but that doesn't represent you anymore. So you need to graduate, show personal pieces that you've done alongside your schoolwork, and have it be the same level, because that's all the HOD of a department wants, is to know what you can consistently deliver and where you can see yourself too.
Good answer.
Just to kind of back up what Bridget has said there, it's definitely quality over quantity for anybody who's looking at portfolios. We don't need to see lots and lots of different, like lots of pieces. If you've just got, you know, a couple of really high polished portfolio pieces or pieces on your reel, whatever it is that you're doing, that is going to get you much further. If you're unsure about a piece, don't put it on your portfolio or your reel. Just take it off. Only put on the ones that you absolutely love and can absolutely confidently talk about in an interview as well, because essentially in an interview, they will pull up your portfolio and talk you through, okay, why is this on here? Why did you make this decision to put on there? So only the best things. If you're unsure about a piece, cut it, and just, you know, the ones that you're really passionate about and happy about, get on there. You know, we hire people with only 2 pieces of art on their art station, for example, but because they're so highly polished and to a great standard, it's enough. So definitely, to echo Bridget's point, quality over quantity every time.
I think that's really good to hear. I think we have a lot of artists on the line that would love to hear. It's about curation as well as what you get put on there. Phil, what do you look for in a good reel?
I'm going to echo what has already been said about curation and your best stuff, but I come from it from a slightly different perspective from everyone else here, because very often I'm looking for apprentices. So they're people who don't necessarily, they're not going to have finished skills. This is burgeoning talent. So what we're looking for in that instance is evidence of creativity and being able to organise their work and organise their ideas. So for a level 4 apprenticeship, we've had people with photography portfolios. Maybe they've done some 3D modelling. Maybe they've done some compositing. They might have life drawing skills. Anything like that, that's of a level that can be good. But the one thing that doesn't come through a portfolio, but comes through perhaps with how people talk about their work if they get to an interview, and this might chime with everyone else here, is being able to explain what your role on a project was and demonstrate that you can play well with others. Because I've noticed that with the people who've been hired over the years as apprentices, the ones who've come from a background where they have done, where I know on the courses they've done more group work and divided up the tasks, that's made them more attractive to employers as people they can bring in and start working with. So even if you're a graduate, being able to demonstrate can play well with others, that's a good thing.
Yeah, to your point, also to like label it carefully, to say I'm responsible for all the lighting, you know, lighting setups and running the shots in this scene because it was a group project. And no matter what level you're at, once you're even a professional and you've been working for 5 or 6 years, I see that as a mistake, is that sometimes people will include shots, but they haven't done it all, or it's confusing as to why that piece is in there because they have an effects reel, but they're showing me modeling. That kind of stuff is also confusing. So it's always really good to use the bottom space of your reel to label exactly what you did in a shot.
This is good. How about you, Debbie? What do you look for?
It's all been said. I completely agree with what everyone said already. And the other thing I would add is be really honest. I occasionally get reels where people have the same work on the reel and people are saying they did the same thing on the reel, and obviously that's just not quite true. So it's a small world. People quite often, when they're graduating, will be sending work out at the same time. So, as various people have said already, make sure you identify the work you did in any particular shot or scene, and know that other people will probably be sending yours out at the same time. So you have to be really honest.
This is really brilliant advice. Thank you. Well, the next question that we've had, and this we get a lot of, and I say this guessing that you guys between you have read thousands of CVs, but what should people include in their CVs?
The name is really important. And now I know that seems quite obvious, but there are often some very basic mistakes on CVs. And because possibly you're nervous about it, or you're so fixated on making sure that your experience is, that paragraph is absolutely correct, then there will be other sections that might be missing some vital information. Usually people do remember to put their name on a CV, but more often it would be like the password to a password protected reel, or some key piece of evidence how to contact you efficiently that we can't find you. So going through and making sure that you have all of the key pieces of information is really important. Get a friend to proofread it for you.
Yeah, to Dara's point, also, like the name followed by what you would like to do, followed by effects artist, and then an about me section. That's just kind of why you're interested in the industry and what you're passionate about and what you've done. Even if what you're listing is, I've worked on 3 different group projects at uni, this and this and this. Also, at the bottom of the CV, it would be cool if you could have your professor, like if you want further references, speak to this person, but don't include a lot of the normal jobs. I'm going to say normal jobs, maybe one to prove if you're going for production, it's actually essential that you show that you've worked in customer service, customer facing jobs, because that shows that you can handle a lot. And that's kind of what you're going to be dealing with anyway. But if you're going for more of an artist role, then maybe only just one of that you worked at Waterstones for a summer, and then the rest just have it be about your uni. I know it's going to look weird that most of the page is going to be blank, like half of it's going to be blank, and you'll feel like a failure or that's terrible. But that's where you start off. You start off where you don't have much, and then you keep building from that. Don't bother with hobbies and things like that too. Like,
how do you guys feel about the hobby section in CVs?
If it's relevant, then great, but generally we're not really interested what you're doing when you're not working. If it's something like I love doing light drawing, great, that's a great thing to know. If it's something that's relevant to the role you're going for, or just really interesting, that shows a part of your personality or the kind of person you are. But generally, yeah, keep it to minimum. I think your CV should be really succinct, because people do not want to read through 5 pages of stuff. They just don't have time. Prioritize the order in which you give the information. We want a really brief introduction to you. Maybe put a little bit of your personality in there. Don't overdo it, but it's nice to get a sense of who you are just in the way you write. I would also, this is a big thing right now, and I don't know if it's just because I'm really super sensitive to it, but I'm starting to see when people are using AI to write not just their CV, but their introduction emails or letters as well. Try to be true to yourself. I think it's fine to do an AI pass to just correct things and maybe add a little something that tightens it up or makes it more succinct. But try to be true to yourself and put, even in a CV, minimally, a little bit of your personality in the little about section or whatever. But yeah, keep it brief, keep it to the point. If your hobbies are interesting and valid or relevant, rather, not valid. What are your hobbies? But yeah, minimal.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's good to know that AI, it can be very tempting to use AI, but how do you guys respond when you see a piece of work, well, a cover letter, for example, that's clearly written by AI? Is that straight to the bin, or how do you work through that?
No, it's fine. Honestly, everything Debbie said is perfect, right from the heart. Then if you do an AI pass, it's not, maybe you're even drawn to becoming an artist because you express yourself best with your art rather than with your words. Not everyone's, we have a lot of people from around the world, and English is their second or third language. It's 100% fine. Most of the time, I'm not an advocate of cover letters. I kind of just think that you should just put the about me section, which is sort of a cover letter, on your CV. We're not expecting everyone to be eloquent. I, in fact, used AI for like my about me section. So there, I
That's
did.
out of the
I
bag now,
cheated.
Bridget.
I cheated and I admitted it.
We have it here on the record. Escape First Live. Thank you. Does anyone else would like to add to that at all?
Yeah, I've just got a question for the group actually, and Bridget led into it there about languages, because we're saying keep things down to the information that's important, but if someone's bilingual or multilingual, could that be useful in your businesses? Is that worth highlighting?
Yeah, I'll take that one. It often can, and we are certainly DNEG is working in a very global capacity with sites around the world, and it can be helpful when you are working with teammates that are in a different country speaking a different language. That can be a great bridge. The main language is always going to be English, and most of our directors will be speaking English. So you do need to have a good capacity for that, but it is helpful to have multilingual polyglots.
Should be adding that to my LinkedIn. So, as this will come as no surprise to you hearing this question, guys, but people who want to get their first start in the industry, what would you recommend? Work experience, runner roles, internships, going directly to the owner and asking for a few weeks? What would you advise those at home to do?
Okay. I think that running is amazing. I think it's a really great way to get into the industry. No one is meant to stay a runner, and should be very clear. You're meant to then express your interest in a section and then hopefully get training to move up into that. DNEG has a really great career, really great past of taking runners and making them heads of studios or heads of departments. So I'm pretty proud about that. I think our head of training, Andrew, even had got together some of them recently, to be like, look at where you guys have come. Yeah, in apprenticeships like Phil is doing, or internships, those are all really great ways to get in the industry. But networking, and if you're not very comfortable networking in person, then doing online things. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Basically, get your foot in the door any way you can. If you're fortunate enough to actually be on site in a studio, which is becoming more and more difficult these days, actually. If you're on site and you can, I don't know, start building relationships with the artists there, be willing to stay an extra hour at night and just watch over someone's shoulder if they're working on something. Being there and in situ is just hugely valuable. Networking with artists on sites, amazing. And most people are very generous, unless it's a big, it's a crunch time where we've got a delivery or something. Artists are very generous to other people coming up because they've all been there. I think it's generally a very generous industry. So just get in any way you can, really. I think most people start from, I don't want to say from the bottom and work up, because every role is essential. And yeah, I think if you do a runner role or something like that, some people maybe start working in a reception if that's appropriate. You just get to meet so many people, and it's absolutely invaluable. So yeah, any way to get in the door. Just don't be too precious about it.
Good advice, thank you. Phil, you must see a lot of people wanting to get into the industry a slightly different route through what you guys do at Next Gen.
Absolutely, I do. And what I was just going to throw in here was uh, this will vary depending on where you are in the world, but you will find that there are initiatives that are basically skills based to get people into work. And there's one in London right now where I know that they've approached the likes of Framestore and ILM because they were on the call at the time, and it's called Lift, and that's a collaboration between 4 borough councils, and they're basically trying to move people into work by paying half their salaries.
Wow.
So, and it could be anyone who qualifies. What I'm just saying is, if you're looking for work, have a look at what uh, you know programs are out there to help get people into work, because you might get into one. And there's a lot of skills boot camps around the country now, and we've been running them for graduates to help them get experience with employers on skills boot camp. So there's multiple ways to try and, like Debbie was saying, get your foot in the door. The most important thing is you start networking with employers and start being noticed.
Really encouraging. Anyone who'd like to add to that at all?
I think just what has been said, I think I completely agree with, like slightly different in the games industry, because like runner's not necessarily a role within the games industry. But again, like any kind of work experience, if you can cheekily message a games studio and say, look, I'm really interested in being this, can you offer me some, time in the studio? You'll probably get told no, but I mean, somebody might say, you know what, yeah, we've got a quiet week, why don't you come in and shadow somebody? So I think, like the team, everyone said, it's about getting out there and kind of networking and asking the right questions at the right time. There's also lots of great mentorships out there as well that people can be a part of. The one that comes to mind immediately is ones like Limit Break, which again is like people within the industry for others in the industry. And again, even if it's not necessarily kind of, the idea is that they're a mentor, but if it's not exactly kind of what you're looking for, I think it's still worth kind of having those connections in the industry, because producers move from one studio to another, artists, animators, they all move. So even though it's not the right time at that point, you should still kind of network and get out there as much as you possibly can with, mentorships, work experience, whatever it is that you feel is right for you.
Would finding QA work for games be advantageous to someone applying to get in?
Yeah, definitely. QA is an entry point to lots of different roles. So lots of people move from QA into production. That's a really common way in. But also we've recently had somebody come from QA and then move into be a VFX artist. So QA is a really great one if you know you want to be in the games industry, but you're not really quite sure what it is you want to do. Because also as a QA, you learn lots about the game cycle. So again, you can kind of identify, oh, I really care about this. I'm really passionate about this part of the game. Let me explore that a little bit more. So yeah, definitely kind of QA. If you're not sure what you want to do, but you know you want to be in the games industry, QA is definitely a great way in.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Don't ever feel ashamed or weird if you graduate and you don't actually know what you want to do, because you learn a bit of everything when you're in uni, and so then it's hard to know, and that's why running or QA is really great, because then you can see what's actually involved with that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that I want to back up, is don't submit to the pressure of having to decide right now the job that you're going to have for the rest of your life, because it probably won't play out that way. If you plan on having a long career, then most likely you will sort of ebb and flow around. It's not a linear trajectory. It kind of looks more like a bowl of spaghetti, of just kind of, oh, I had this job and then I kind of went sideways and then I went kind of backwards a little bit, but I liked it better. So then I went over here. That's what your career most likely will be like.
Do you find that a lot with the talent at DNEG? Do they enter in one way and then you see them progress another way, or is it as you had predicted?
For my career, or just in
at
general?
DNEG.
Yeah. So yeah, I think definitely my personal career has gone in different ways that I wasn't necessarily expecting, but it's been so much fun. And then I see that in a lot of people Two, where they will discover, actually, I like this aspect of the job, so I want to do more of this, more drawing, less meetings, or whatever it might be. And then they'll kind of, when that opportunity comes up, start to shift over to doing a job that is closer to their passions.
Yeah, good advice. This is a good one. Should students create work for their portfolio or reel that's separate from their school assignments? I'll open that to the floor.
This is a really great question. So whoever included this one, thank you. And the answer is absolutely yes, you should be. As everyone's kind of mentioned, your course is a great opportunity for you to kind of learn a little bit of everything, sample things, dip your toe in particular areas. And your personal work is then kind of the area in which you go away and apply all that information, all that knowledge that you've been given, and kind of find where your passion sits. Because the best thing, usually if you're great at it, that helps, but if you're passionate about an area, you're going to be able to do it and love doing it and get really great at doing it. So your personal work's where you can kind of explore doing that, but also it will make your portfolio stand out at the same time, because a lot of kind of courses teach you, I mean, at the end of the day, their point is to get you to a graduate level artist, animator, whatever it is. So a lot of the kind of techniques, skill sets, knowledge that they are teaching you are vaguely similar. People do it to better or worse degrees, obviously, but they're kind of setting you up to be a graduate level. So a lot of portfolios end up looking a little bit samey. So your personal work is where you can take all that knowledge and apply it and prove that you can do it outside of a university setting, but also anybody who's working on their portfolio in their spare time, who's kind of crazy passionate about their work, are the people that go on to succeed and get the jobs and all of that. So definitely do personal work outside of your university work, definitely.
Brilliant. Anyone else like to add to that?
I'm sorry, I would agree with what Chloe said wholeheartedly. I think it's the opportunity to really show a bit of yourself and your passion and your attitudes and what gets you excited about being in this world. I've hired when I worked at a previous big studio, I hired a director that had never worked in a studio before, just on the back of his own work. Just passion projects, personal projects can really make people stand out from the crowd massively. I think it's where I get most excited when I see people's own projects where they've not necessarily been guided by anyone, but they've taken all their years of practice and applied it. And that's really, really exciting. I think it's the best thing you can do. It's not easy, it takes time. The one thing I would say if you are doing a passion project or trying to show your own work is keep it really small. People get really overambitious and you'll never finish it. If it's a big thing you want to do, it takes forever. We all know how long these things take. So keep it small, it's contained, and really, really good. And it will really help stand out.
Brilliant advice. Thank you. I'm aware of time, so I'm going to move on to the next one, which I'll open to the floor. For someone already in a junior role, what can they be doing to advance themselves to the next level?
Personal project.
Yeah, personal projects is a great one to investigate and explore the aspects of the work and the craft that are really appealing to you. And you're doing more of it, you're getting more experience with it. I would also say, and this is probably more so for when you get into a job, that understanding soft skills and how to work with people and how to manage groups is going to be the next thing, aside from obviously the skills for whatever discipline you're in. But that's going to be the next thing to get you to the next level as well, is you need to understand how group dynamics and team dynamics work, and understand about yourself too, understand your preferences on how you like to work. Do you prefer to get information like bullet points or more kind of an ethereal narrative? Knowing this about yourself is going to help you be able to work with people more successfully.
Brilliant. So beef up your soft skills and use it as an opportunity to work on passion projects. Whilst I have you on the line, how do you guys feel about passion projects which is like an homage to a famous IP. How would you guys feel if you saw a portfolio and there was a load of pencil drawings of Spider-Man, for instance? Is it dangerous to do tributes to famous art?
I think so. I think a little bit. Like if you're a character modeler and you grab you ask for permission first off of somebody off of ArtStation, and say, can I 3D model this? And it happens to be Spider-Man, A-okay, because it's like a different take on the character. But if you're applying it ILM and your entire reel is just very Star Wars, I think it can come across a little cringy. It's not necessarily because it could be really well done and then just change that recruiter's mind, but I think there can be a tendency to be a little cringy.
Yeah, you're kind of setting yourself up for disaster in a way, getting sort of being compared against people who paid a lot of money to do it. Segueing into events, I think, Bridget, you actually mentioned some networking events earlier. Are there any ones in particular you'd recommend to meet other artists?
Access VFX is a great one, and they're starting a new division called Neuro VFX. I literally just came from the panel from that, so I'm going to plug that. But Access VFX is wonderful. And then I occasionally just see people on LinkedIn who will be like, we're doing a creature get together. We're all going to get together at this bar, and you should do that. You should tag along and go and meet people.
Brilliant. I love Access VFX. If there are any students on the line, sign up and get a mentor. It's terrific what Access VFX does. Anyone else with any events or networking tips you'd like to share?
Women in animation too. Dara, you're a member of Women in Animation, or is it the other one?
I'm
Dara's
actually a
the
member of
chair,
both.
I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm co-chair of Women Animated Women UK. Yes, so that is a great organization that's UK based. We do have a chapter in Scotland as well. And then there's Women in Animation, which is more global, and their events tend to be in California. It's a bit harder to join those. Then there is Bring Your Own Animation from SIGGRAPH. And so this goes back to networking. So when you're meeting people at these organizations, often you will find somebody who has more experience in doing exactly what it is you do. You meet them. Some organizations, such as Animated Women UK, we do have a mentorship program that you can take advantage of. So jumping onto these organizations can really help you meet more people, beef up your networking skills.
Nice plug.
Chloe, somebody asked, is there a version of that for games? Because I don't know. I want to know.
There's things like Women in Games is a big one. I don't know if there's anything specific to art, but there's like She Can Code, Girl Code, again, that are like female-led job boards, mentorships, things like that to get mostly concentrates on diverse groups, but again, like the idea is to kind of get people together and networking as much as possible. But I think one of the things that games likes to do is to keep it quite local. So for example, Leamington, where Playground are based, is just essentially a rural town full of game devs. So we have, I don't know why they all chose Leamington, but they did. And there's about 150 game studios, from kind of one-man bands up until your AAAs like us. And they do, every week there is a networking event for something. So if it's an art meetup or an audio meetup, or like Bridget said, like a character or creature meetup, like they will be an event for that. So again, like try and find the hubs of where these people are and go to them. Because again, the amount of times that I get people come to me and go, oh, I met this person at a meetup the other day. They showed me their portfolio. It's fantastic. And that person gets an interview. So networking really is like a tool, and it's a skill, and it's something you have to stretch and develop. It feels weird at first. Everybody feels weird about it. Just do it until it's not weird anymore. Like, it's the best advice I can give you. Everybody in the room probably plays games. Ask them what they're playing this week. ask them about themselves. People like to talk about themselves. Like anything you can do to open that conversation, just do it as much as you possibly can, because weirdly, the games industry is quite small when you get into it as well. I assume kind of the other industries are as well. So it's very much kind of you meet the right person at the right time. And if it's not that person, they probably know somebody who's looking as well. So yeah, local groups are really great for gaming. I mean, like Leamington in particular has an event kind of every week for some kind of game event.
Chloe, would games jams fall under that category of useful things for people to do?
Yeah, so games jams again, then they are kind of more online networking, I guess. And there's a couple of companies that will do them. For example, there's a lot of environment art companies that are set up for like mentoring, but also for people to kind of come together and do a group project. So they'll pick like a scene and recreate it. And again, like they are sometimes like charity led or kind of industry led by people that have set up a little side hustle to help people get into the industry. But yeah, anything like that, again, is still networking, even though it's kind of online and you'll probably never necessarily meet the person. Just get out there and kind of meet as many people as you possibly can over like this, or in, you know, in face to face is obviously great, but we don't live in that world anymore, unfortunately. So yeah, definitely game jams are a great way to meet people, but also you get something out of it at the other end. You get something you can put on your portfolio and talk about as well, which is also a really a good thing to have.
Sounds like there's loads of studios in Leamington. I think you give Guildford a run for its money.
There's something runs in Scotland, Games Talks Live from the 1st to the 3rd of April, and they are taking place in Edinburgh, Dundee and Glasgow. It can be really great events as well to attend. Very low key, very friendly.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. That's animation and games covered. Phil, where should a 2D or 3D artist head to broaden their network?
Oh, well, I was just trying to sneakily have a look at the SIGGRAPH site, the London chapter, because I know they used to have a lot of regular meetups where people could take along 3D work they'd done and that kind of stuff. So I would recommend that. But for a 2D artist, I think probably the best thing to do would be to try and find yourself a mentor on Access VFX's site, because then you've got someone you can show your work to who'll give you some feedback on it. So I think that's probably the most single useful thing you could do for that.
Brilliant advice. Yeah, and you eliminate any awkward introductions in a meeting. I only have time for one more question from me, then we're going to go over to the audience. What's the worst thing you've seen in a cover letter? I'll open that to anyone who has something that's jumped to their mind.
The amount of times I get, oh, dear Rockstar, dear Supermassive, dear hiring team at any other studio apart from the one that they're applying to. So please, 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 if you're going to do a cover letter, address it to the correct studio.
We
service announcement.
we had a discussion about this like in our feature core channel, you know, where everyone discusses things in Zoom, and everyone chipped in the stories about times that they've been approached by people completely in the different industry who were applying for visual effects jobs, who were like, hi, I saw that you're looking for a rigger, and I actually happen to be somebody who makes scaffolding, so let's make this happen. Or like somebody applied for a pipeline role, but they did underwater like pipes and welding. So it's always that like, oh, you didn't read the job description. Bless your cotton socks.
I did get a cover letter once that had a link to animated pornography.
Did they get the job?
No. It wasn't very good.
I love how even professionally you're analysing that.
It's old habit.
Well, I think we're going to go over to the Q&A 2 minutes ahead of schedule, as we do actually have a lot of questions here. So I'm going to read them as they've come. Omar Sharif writes in, I'm currently wanting to start a new portfolio as a prop and environment artist. Currently, I have one piece that is highly polished, and I have other projects that I'm proud of, but I don't want to overload my portfolio. So what would be a good number of pieces to add?
Yeah, I'll just go back to the generic like 5 or 6, like as long as they're the same level. And if you still have the scene files, open them up, maybe bring it up to that level of polish of the one that you're super proud of, so you don't have to write it off completely.
Brilliant, thank you. Anyone else like to add to that?
I think also make sure the ones that you're putting on there are relevant to the studio or whoever it is that you're applying to. So for example, at Playground, we are known for our photorealistic style. So we don't really look for stylized portfolios at all. So again, if you're unsure about what you want on there, but you want to be a prop environment artist, really kind of aim for that and tailor your portfolio to prop artists. But also if you want to work for a photorealistic studio, make sure that's what's on there. Or if you want to work for a more stylized studio, again, put stylized work on there.
Couldn't agree with that more. Like, know who you're applying for. And if you're desperate to work in feature animation, but you're also desperate to work on VFX shows, make separate reels, make separate work, cater it. Yeah, same. Like, don't make something that's super low poly that would be really good for a, like a cell phone game that when you're applying with Chloe's studio. It's know where you want to go and make the work for that.
And also, if you have a portfolio of work that is not representative of the work the studio does, you personally are not going to change the direction of the studio to doing a different style. I can't tell you how many, sadly, we don't do 2D animation, but your portfolio is not going to make the entire organization decide to quit everything, all the 3D movies, and do a 2D. But somehow I get into that conversation a lot.
Joel Golding writes in to say, as someone who's gone back to uni as a mature student, I often worry what it will be like trying to get into this industry as someone older than other new entrants. How common is it to see older people coming in at entry level?
Not that common, but at the same time, I think you do stand out in a good way, is that you're much more emotionally mature, you have a lot more life experiences. Somebody that I hired she's amazing, she's a groom artist, and she introduced herself when I was visiting the uni and looking at all the projects. She was like, I'm a much older student and kind of their mother hen, and like she just came across as super sassy, really confident about herself. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to hire you, but I want to be best friends. And sure enough, I hired her, and we're not best friends yet, but I'm working on it. But I think that more mature students stand out for that reason, for the confidence level.
Even among apprenticeships where people tend to be younger, like 18, we do get older apprentices coming along. People have gone like a circuitous route. The oldest animation apprentice was 50, I think. Wow. And that may have been one of the things that was attractive to the employer for those reasons that Bridget was just talking about, maturity and whatever.
It's good to know. Anecdotally, I think the most career changes I've witnessed have been real estate agents becoming animators. I think we've had at least 6 very successful ones going on. And regrettably, I can't segue into the next question. Wish I had thought about that in advance. But Mirko Amalotti writes, when you have positions available, do you have any headhunting? So do you headhunt for any positions? I've posted my work on forums like The Rookies, but have never received any requests for interviews.
It's weird. So I didn't know what The Rookies was until last week. So I think maybe we need to be shouting about that a little bit more. I did a panel similar to this one for, again, in Leamington, called Let's Talk Games, and it's mostly aimed at graduate students. But yeah, they said do you look at the rookies? And the whole recruitment panel said, no, sorry, we didn't know that existed. So definitely I will now look at rookies moving forward. Thank you for that information. But certainly at Playground, the majority of my role is reaching out, but it tends to be for more senior level roles. We get a lot of applications for kind of graduate or more junior level roles. So yeah, we do headhunt, but we tend to do it for senior and upwards, or anything that's kind of really niche or hard to find. So like rendering engineer or pipeline tech artist, I'll go out and like look for those profiles. But the more junior ones, we are just lucky in that there are a lot of graduates, so we don't necessarily have to do too much outreach for those roles.
That's fair. Anna Boffin writes, do you think sending emails to studios with your CV and reel is pointless when there are no job offers? Or maybe it can sometimes lead to something? So is there much merit in prospecting, for example?
Yep, I think so. I mean, I would be quite targeted again, as people have said, don't just randomly send out emails to every studio that you can think of and make it very anonymous. I think you have to still make sure that you're being relevant to the studio that you're emailing, show that you know who you're talking to, do a bit of research on the studio, reference some of the work that you like. Oh, I really love this piece you did, and it reminds me of this thing that I want to do, or you make that connection. But absolutely, I've hired lots of people that have just randomly emailed on the off chance. So much is to do with timing. Sometimes we get amazing people applying and you just don't have the work at the time and you'd love to take them on board. And other times you're thinking, oh right, goodness, I'm just about to start recruiting for this job. Someone lands in your inbox and you know, wow, you've timed this perfectly. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So absolutely, yeah, I would definitely recommend it, but just keep it relevant.
Really encouraging to
I
hear.
really want to echo the relevant thing. That's so important, and you need to practice it. So if you think that there's no point because there's no jobs around, you still need to practice putting yourself across and making yourself relevant to a studio. So even at that level, it's always worthwhile.
Thank you. This one's aimed at Chloe. Is it okay/normal to reach out to recruiters after applying for a job/general applications, especially in game art?
Yes, I would say. What I will caveat that with that I can't guarantee you'll get a message back. So just to kind of contextualize that, we advertised an environment art role probably about 6 o'clock Friday afternoon last week, and by Monday today there was 100 applications. So that's only in 2 days. So I'm already kind of going through I look at all 100 of those applications. We don't use any kind of scanning service or AI to kind of reject anybody. It is a human looking at all of those applications. So to then look at LinkedIn messages as well, like the ways that you can get in touch with a recruiter, because we put ourselves out there for that reason, just means that we get a lot of influx from applications, LinkedIn and things like that. So absolutely, I don't think there's any harm in kind of messaging saying, hi, just to let you know, I've applied for your environment art role. I hope to hear from you soon. That's absolutely fine. I'd say don't do it in hoping you're going to get a response, because the chances are you probably won't, just because of the influx that we do get. I think what is really nice is once you've had an interview with somebody, or if you've had a screening call from themselves or with a hiring manager, I think then is a really nice time to send a message just to say, really enjoyed speaking to you, learning about the role, really enjoyed speaking to so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. I think that is really impactful to hear after an interview, because again, it's just, oh, you know, we know where they are, they enjoyed the interview, blah, blah, blah. So there's definitely a time and a place to send that message. I'd say it's more impactful after an interview once you've had a chat with the person. But yeah, I mean, send the message, but there's just so many messages that we get on LinkedIn as a recruiter. We can't guarantee that we're going to come back to absolutely all of them.
I think it's important, those that did messages, to not feel disheartened if they don't get a reply. I think it's quite easy to forget
Absolutely.
recruiters are so
It-
busy.
It's not about you. It's absolutely about us. Like we just are inundated. So yeah, I mean, like the application service is there for a reason. So we always say the best way to apply is definitely put an application in. If you want a message and say, I have done that, like fine. Just don't don't be disheartened if we don't become besties after that message.
Fair. Anonymous asks, what should we include in the cover letter to make it stand out? I'll open that to everyone.
Why you want to do this? Like, that's the most important thing. What drew you to it? Maybe what was the movie that influenced you? Although that's starting to get really depressing for me now because I'm in my 40s, and so people are like, "Well, I remember the very first movie I saw was Tangled," and I'm like, "Oh no, my first movie was E.T." But yeah, just showing your passion is great.
And then also something about the studio that you're submitting to, because a cover letter sometimes can just seem so, hello, state your name here. I decided to send my CV to whichever company you are because you might have a job. And I want to know that there is some reason why you particularly want to work at our studio.
Totally, flattery does go a long way. Just being like, I loved Nimona. Be like, oh,
I recruited for that.
flattery for us.
And the other thing was talking about worst emails you've received. I've received a number of dear insert name. I've actually received we all have, so do you know what to do?
You can always tell, can't you? It's like when they're very general about the nice things they're saying about your studio, but don't mention any specific IPs or whatever. How do you think AI will impact work in games and VFX in, say, 2, 5, and 10 years from now? Asks Filippo Federici.
Can I jump on that one
Yeah.
first?
Please do.
So I'm quite confident. I've been in the industry longer than anyone else on the call. I started work in 1983. Back then it was analog technology. So I've worked through changes from analog technology onto digital, things going from equipment that was the size of the office I'm in now down to a laptop. Change all the time. It's constant. And years ago, I worked on one of the first non-linear editing systems and Avid in London, and I had literally film editors from TV commercials standing with pitchforks going, "This is terrible. You're going to destroy all our jobs." We didn't. That technology rolled out, didn't make things quicker, didn't take away jobs. It ended up giving people more creative choices, and they tried out more ideas. So if we approach AI as a tool to be used by people rather than as something that's a replacement for people, then we're going to get through more creative ideas quicker, polish them up, find the ones that we like or that work better, quicker, and move on. So my take on it is use it as a tool, learn how to use it, learn how to bring AI into your practice as an artist.
Brilliant. Thank you, Phil.
I would agree with Phil to an extent. I would also acknowledge that I think where it gets a little dangerous with AI is that some people don't see the difference in quality. I think the human connection is the most important thing. Art is created by human beings for human beings, not machines for human beings. But and I think a lot of really passionate people see that a mile off. But there will be elements within the industry who just want something done quickly and cheaply, and that will affect certain aspects of the industry, I think. I agree with what Phil's saying that we should take this as an opportunity to make our work better and be able to focus on the things that we're great at as human beings and let the machines do the more tedious stuff that no one really enjoys doing. That's in an ideal world, but I think we'd be doing ourselves a disservice if we didn't also acknowledge the fact it will impact a bit. There's no way it's not going to impact. The advances are so fast and so alarmingly amazing in many ways. I don't like it personally. It makes me very, very uneasy, but I think it is going to impact the industry significantly. But I think it just shows that it's even more important that you make yourself stand out, and all the qualities that you're talking about that make people highly employable. It's not just the work you do, it's the most important thing, but it's who you are as a human being, how you work within a team, what else you bring, what energy do you bring? Are you the kind of person that I'm going to work late with you tonight? Well, let's just get this done because we're having such a good time together. Are you somebody who's amazing as an artist, but an absolute pain in the ass to work with? These are all the things that I think AI is going to kind of like really put a focus on.
Well, these are
Makes you
wonderful.
special.
Thank you so much. Sadly, that's all the time we have for the show today. That's a wonderful thought to end us on. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for attending.